How would you feel if you walked through an art museum and saw all these beautiful paintings, but then at the end of it you realized all the paintings were made by machines and AI and there was no story behind it? That is how I sometimes feel about some of these very impressive Tantau roses to look at. That they lack a story behind them, that they lack a fragrance, that even though they're big and beautiful, they are somehow hollow, somehow mechanical. Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. I just got back inside from the garden and I brought two more roses with me. This one is Ashley Rose from Tantau. And then you have Augusta Luise from Tantau. Now I was walking a bit around in my area of the garden, there was Tantau roses. And there were so many Tantau roses that are already starting to put out their first blooms. And I thought I'd do some observations both on Ashley and Augusta Luise, but also about Tantau in general. Now the first rose I'll start with here is Ashley. Ashley gets to about 80 to 100 centimeters, but what really makes Ashley unique is the flowers can get absolutely massive on her. And she is also a really healthy plant. But despite having these picture perfect massive flowers, she doesn't really give me anything in terms of fragrance. She gives me a 4 out of 10 tea fragrance. So honestly, even though I love the look of the huge flowers on Ashley, she kind of lets me down a bit. It's not the health, it's not how she flowers, how often she flowers. It is simply without some kind of fragrance on this thing. It is more of a soulless rose for me. It's a half-baked rose for me. And honestly, that leads me back to the other rose over here, Augusta Luise. Look again. Massive, impressive flowers. There's so many colors in here. There's apricot, there's some pink color, there's nearly a whole coral sunset going on Augusta Luise. And she's healthy, and I think she has like 5 or 6 of these huge blooms in her outside now. And honestly, on the look of her and on the health, I have nothing to complain about. But then the problem arises. I do this, as I have a tendency to do. I put my nose to it, and again, it is a 4 out of 10 tea fragrance. Now I don't particularly mind Ashley being a 4 out of 10 tea fragrance because it was not marketed as strong on fragrance. But Augusta Luise was marketed as strong on fragrance. And this is a 4-year-old plant with, yeah, you can see how massive the blooms are. It is a very healthy plant. And it is not giving me fragrance at all. It is honestly not giving me fragrance at all. And that is kind of... Well, I better take a sip here before I continue my Tantau rant. You know, in the garden right now I have like 30 to 40 Tantau roses stuck in the same corner in my trial bed. And honestly what I've noticed is they all have such impressive blooms, they have impressive foliage, they're incredibly healthy. But when I go and do like this, then I get a 4 out of 10 tea fragrance. Go do like this, a 4 out of 10 tea fragrance. And I can go do that with 20 to 30 Tantau roses in a row, and all they're giving me is 4 out of 10 tea fragrances. But if you took my DSLR outside, my camera outside, and you pointed to that area of the garden, you would say, oh, what pretty roses. They're so big blooming, so beautiful blooms, they're so healthy, they're wonderful. And that leads me to one critique with Tantau roses. Honestly, they're picture perfect roses meant for photography, but when you start looking at the soul of a rose, so many of them starts feeling mechanical, they start feeling there's not much scent to them, and honestly, when that happens, it's kind of like a half-baked rose, you know, because a rose needs a certain amount of storytelling, it needs a certain amount of fragrance for you to be happy with it. If it is just an impressive bloom, then it starts reminding you of, you could walk into a florist shop and you can get these cut flowers, and honestly, that is what these roses start feeling like when they get too generic, when they just get this pretty but nothing going on in the background. And honestly, in my experience, you don't feel much of a connection to such roses because there's nothing that wants you to get near to them and to scent them, and there's nothing that makes you want to tell people about them. And honestly, that is my problem with Tantau roses. And don't get me wrong, Tantau roses makes some of my favorite roses on scent. They make Goethe, for example. Goethe I recommend to so many people. And Goethe is an amazing rose on scent. It is a 10 out of 10 for me on scent. It is a total powerhouse on scent. But really, when one looks away from these more one-hit wonders in the Tantau assortment, so much of the Tantau assortment just gives you this 4 out of 10 tea fragrance. And honestly, when you look at how amazing these roses look in pictures and how healthy they are and everything else, how massive the blooms are, I just believe it is such a shame not more attention is being spent on making a good scent on them or making a good storytelling effect on them. And that is really why I get why so many people love Austin roses, because Austin roses, there's often different fragrances. You have myrrh fragrance, you of course have the tea fragrance, you have the alba fragrance, you have the gallica fragrance, you have the damask fragrance. You have all these kind of, also some berry, and you have sometimes some sandalwood, and you have all these wonderful, also sometimes some pear fragrance, and really, and it is the same with Delbat. Delbat roses are also not just scented the same. There's a lot of different fragrance, a lot of different storytelling in Delbat roses. And I think that leads me back to my main critique with Tantau roses. And that is, even though the assortment is very big and there's so many Tantau roses to choose between, they kind of just end up feeling very much the same, but just with a different color and a different flower head. Because there's not that special storytelling effect, there's not that special, special fragrance on it. And don't get me wrong, Tantau roses are some of the most amazing on health. I think if it was a competition on health, then you have Cordes and you have Tantau, and those are competing. But really, and also sometimes they do get the storytelling right on a tea fragrant rose. You can take something like Hansestadt Rostock. Hansestadt Rostock is an amazing rose on storytelling. So if the roses had that amazing storytelling effect and still being 4 out of 10 on tea fragrance, I could look past it. And Hansestadt Rostock and also Thieu de Fontaine, those are two roses I can look past the 4 out of 10 on tea fragrance, because those roses have so many special things going on for them in the storytelling effect. But these roses kind of feel like they give you a healthy rose with a big impressive flower, but they kind of don't give you anything else. And maybe that is me demanding too much, but with 400 roses you kind of start demanding a lot of a rose, and these kind of just feel like it feels like looking at a picture perfect painting, but a painting without soul. And that is the best way I can describe it. You know, when you go into an art museum, there's these really pretty paintings, but they don't really say you anything, they don't really matter to you. And that is how a lot of Tantau roses are starting to feel with me. It is like walking past these pretty paintings, but you don't really connect with the rose, and you don't really want to know more about it. And it is such a shame when Tantau makes such amazing healthy roses. And honestly, I wish, kind of like Austin, I kind of wish they would stop producing as many roses as they do and just start focusing on something that is either unique in the way it blooms or unique on fragrance. And honestly, I think they would do much better if they didn't breed as many roses, but really make spectacular roses. Because if you take like 200 Tantau roses, what do I always tell people to buy? I tell them to buy Goethe. I tell them to buy Hansestad Rostock. I tell them to buy Teardrop Fontaine. And a lot of others. But really, when you think about how many percentage of the Tantau assortment I'm recommending to people, it's like 1 to 2%, isn't it? And that is exactly because you have so many filler roses in the Tantau assortment that just give you 4 out of 10 tea fragrances, and you don't really feel like connecting with in a more deep way. It could honestly just be a rose I have found in the cut flower section of a florist store. And that is honestly my main rant with Tantau roses. I feel like they should focus a bit more on storytelling, a bit more on fragrance, a bit more on what I would call the je ne sais quoi of a rose. And honestly, that was my rant for today about Tantau roses. And often it is Austin roses I'm being tough on, but I always try to be incredibly fair in my critique of rose breeders, and you'll notice they all of them get some critique from me, and they also get a job well done when I find an amazing rose. But yeah, that was it for today, guys. I'll go back to enjoying my drink here, and really, Ashley and Augusta Luise are decent roses if you only care about how a rose looks. But if you want fragrance, if you want personality, if you want these things, then it is not roses I recommend, even though they look impressive, as you can see. And that's really it. Take care, guys.